So I can kind of see the judges. There should be criteria met for that. But yeah, so I agree with that one. But man, Dark Side of the Ring ended on a freaking high note for their season.
Hopefully, it was
No
a
pun
big rating
intended.
booster for them.
I don't think they have any issues with ratings. I really don't. But it was about as hard to watch as the Chris Benoit one was, because like I'm sitting there and
Because
I'm watching it.
I
and
remember it. You remember it?
Absolutely. And the funny thing though that you say we remember it, because I was trying to remember it, because it was like it was in '99 when he passed.
Yes.
And
Over the Edge pay-per-view.
Yep. And when we watched that, I don't think we watched it.
I think you were out of the loop in wrestling. No, not yet.
That was during the era of when he was the Blue Blazer,
Yep.
and weird things started to happen with his character, where the whole thing of Nugget came into play. Remember that?
Yes.
Nugget. When people were walking around calling people nuggets and stuff like that, that was because of Owen Hart. But no, I was sitting there and I'm watching that with Fallon, and I'm sitting there. Fallon's my wife, and I'm sitting there. And
Did she like it?
And she was like, she came in kind of towards the end of it.
Okay.
So I was just more or less talking out the scenario with her, trying to replay the moment. And I wanted to say that the moment that it was, we didn't get the pay-per-view. I'm almost 99% sure we did not get the pay-per-view. But what I think it was the era of which you can manipulate pay-per-views. Like you had that little black box and you can manipulate the pay-per-views. I want to say it was around that time. All I remember is vaguely remembering, and maybe our dad can shed some light on it, and maybe we'll find out more after this. But what I remember, and again, this could be wrong, but this is just my telling of the story, is that Owen Hart fell. We heard about it. We quickly saw it. I want to say it was a fuzzy, grainy video.
Yep.
But we didn't know what we saw. All we remember hearing is JR's voice in the situation, just like what they were airing on Dark Side of the Ring.
And when Jerry Lawler took off and ran.
So
threw off his headset and ran.
I remember that. And then I think I remember running out to our dad and saying, Dad, something happened to Owen. And he's like, what do you mean something happened to Owen? Like, I don't know. Something doesn't seem right. And I was telling Fallon that. That's what I vividly remember
about that situation.
Yep. Then I went somewhere and I looked up something, and I remember seeing a video. I guess it wasn't from WWF at the time, because on Dark Side of the Ring, WWF and Dark Side of the Ring said there was no video footage aired on Over the Edge pay-per-view.
Of the fall, yeah.
But I remember finding the video.
Yes.
Of that you see.
Of like a grainy, of a grainy video,
down,
like as if it was a cell phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of Owen falling down.
Dude, his last words, according to eyewitnesses, was, "Look out."
Yes.
Like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that, because you're falling 100 feet and your last words were, "Look out."
Yeah, 78 feet is exactly what he fell. And his chest impacted the top turnbuckle, and basically he died instantly. And you're watching this story, and it's just like, how do we even get here?
Like, they try to... This is what I like about Dark Side, because a lot of the Dark Side features, they go really in depth. Some, they kind of leave out little bits and pieces of it.
Well, that's the thing I liked about this one, Tristan.
They really kind of, like, the ones that had a story, right?
Yeah.
The ones that had a narrative that needed to be told was told so eloquently that it was so amazing that you have the family members still to this day talking about a a scary situation that led to this. And to think about this, we've heard horror stories about Vince McMahon and what he has been capable of doing, cutting short, going the short way, and paying off people. We've heard all the stories. Good, bad, and different. What you should never have done was cut corners and cut costs when you have a man's life in the balance. Shaun, how is that right?
I completely agree.
You're expecting a performer who is already uneasy, who doesn't like heights, who is scared. You cut corners with a man's life on the line.
But yet he trusted the people that they had the best interest. They just did it the night before. They just did it a couple nights before.
With a different carabiner.
Yeah, with a different harness setup. Absolutely.
Like, you're doing a test run with the harness and the carabiner that you're supposed to use. And you change it at the last minute. How can you do that? How can you leave somebody's life that meant the world to so many people? Just think that it was okay to do something like that, cut corners and cut costs. Never should you risk somebody's life for a payday. And the fact that you still went on, a man died in your ring and you kept continuing.
And the interesting thing about the carabiner issue that you talk about was normally that was used was a locking carabiner.
Yep.
Which was typical for climbers. And then on top of that, they went to a guy
They used one
named Talbert that used a line that had, I guess, a pulley cord.
Yep. And they said, whatever you do, don't pull it.
To release it. But he didn't pull it.
No.
What happened was his cape got caught.
Yep.
That was it. Cape got caught, pulled it, he fell. Whose fault? Do you blame Owen for believing and trusting his life was in the hands of Vince McMahon and everybody else at the WWF?
All wrestlers, show must go on. We watched, Shaun, you watched the Undertaker documentary.
I'm about halfway through or more into the second one.
Shaun, and what was Undertaker saying? What did Undertaker say? What was the one thing that he said as being the judge in the WWE? That it doesn't matter if you're broken, battered, bruised, can't walk to the ring, as long as you can perform, you have one thing to do. Don't make Vince look stupid.
Yeah.
All wrestlers apparently felt like that. Owen was no different. Owen did everything that was asked upon him and then some.
Because he had the biggest heart ever.
Because he wasn't charismatic like his brother, or couldn't carry a microphone and an audience. They put him back in the blue blazer outfit because he was able to be a character.
But see, Tristan, when they made that reference on Dark Side of the Ring, it's like, I always thought that Owen was charismatic. I always thought Owen just had to find his way. And
could you imagine if he made it to the era of the Attitude Era?
Yeah, like Jericho said, where he could have
fought so people that were like him.
But then the WWF changed and altered their way of going and put him back in the blue blazer after his brother left to WCW. You can't help but think that was a little bit of a shot, if you will, at his brother for leaving for greener pastures for WCW. You can't help but think that because he was trending up when his brother was there. He was having a run of his life. There were so many different storylines that were going on in that time frame. The danger gimmick that he was doing, and people were calling him the Nuggets, and he's like, I'm not a Nugget. Cutting those promos, and the one guy coming out with a fake nose and stuff like that during one of his gimmicks where
He did everything that was asked upon him.
So it was a sad feeling, but at least it was told, and it was told Martha Hart's way and nobody else's way.
I do agree with them in the notion that he is to never go into the WWE Hall of Fame. At first, when I heard that story, before I saw the Dark Side of the Ring, I heard that underneath no circumstances would Owen Hart ever step foot inside the WWE Hall of Fame. And I was like, why not? This man did everything that he was supposed to do. Hall of Famer. I mean, probably one of the best wrestlers that you could possibly ever see. And I'm talking about a wrestler, not an entertainer. He did what he was supposed to do. And all I could think of is that I was like, man, you should. But then they're like, why? You're going to glorify him. Give the WWE there you go. Good job, guys. But then they're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow WWE to be okay with this. We are going to create our own foundation. The Owen Hart Foundation, which is for all single moms. We will carry on the Owen Hart legacy the way that we see fit. The way that he would want it to be, because he was a family man. Never wanted to be in wrestling for a long time. And we have heard all the stories about wrestling being like a mafia. That if you are in, man, it is hard to get out. Right? So, Owen Hart always wanted to have